Okay. This is weird, but I will give you my very honest, very raw, you might say, opinion of the series finale. I have shared my opinion, or a part of my opinion, before. I've been very vocal about it, that's for damn sure. But I feel like I need to go more into depth. I cannot say that word. Into that. Because I feel like I have to, you know? I spend so much time and I've been so passionate about this show and I'm so passionate about this ending and I feel like I have to really explain myself to the last detail. Just all of it. I have to just tell you my opinion and I have to get this off my chest. And this is probably gonna be super, super fucking long, but bear with me or don't. It's your choice. The first thing I want to talk about, and also the most important thing, in my opinion, is Sam and Dean and that ending. You know the reason I fell in love with this show, and I've said this on my channel, but I will say it again in this video because it's important. The reason I fell in love with the show is because of these two. I got them tattooed on my fucking arm because I love them so much. And I also have this here, but like, this is the important thing, okay? Sam and Dean Winchester, they are the reason I fell in love with the show. They're the reason I watched the show. To me, they will always be the two main characters. Now, Cass is so fucking important. I could write a whole essay on how important he is. However, to me, it's Sam and Dean. It always has been, always will be, and that's just how it is for me. I fell in love with their dynamic, with their relationship, with everything about them. And just, let me tell you a very short story of how I discovered Supernatural. You've probably heard it if you've been around on my channel for a while. I found it on TV at 2 a.m. in the morning on a Friday night, and it was season 6, episode 5, Live Free or Try Hard, and Sam is soulless. They don't even have anything emotional going on. They literally just talk about a hunt, and that's it. And I fell in love with their dynamic. Instantly. How? I don't know how, but I did. I felt their connection. I felt Jared and Jensen's connection right from the get-go. Without them even doing anything special. Like, they were literally just talking about the case, and that's it. And I instantly loved them, and the rest is pretty much history. I watched all 8 seasons that were out in 2013 in 2.5 weeks. And I have been watching the show since, and I love the show. It is my heart and soul, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like, it's literally the love of my life. It's everything I need, honestly. As you can also see, like, I have so much merch. I have so much Supernatural anything. I love the show. I love Jared and Jensen. I can't even express to you how much I love Jared and Jensen, and Misha, and Matt, and Ruthie, and Mark Pellegrino, and all the other people that are on this goddamn show. I love them. I appreciate everything they have ever done for the show. I appreciate so much. I would never disrespect them. I would never disrespect their hard work in any way, you know? It's just the ending is, in my opinion, disclaimer, my opinion, I'm not telling you how to feel about it, it's mine. I think it was hot garbage. And that hurts, you know? Like, I was so conflicted because I wanted to love the ending. I wanted to be content with it, but I wasn't. So, like, these two feelings that were fighting against each other, and I was like, but it's the end. Like, I can't be that hard on it. And the other part of me was like, but it sucked, and you should be able to voice that opinion. And that's what I did. I went on and made 3 videos making fun of it, and I'm already working on the 4th one. I wanted to love it. I tried, I really tried, okay? But the more time passed, the more days passed, the more I realized I hate it. I despised that ending. It's like such a slap in the face for me. Especially the more scenes I rewatch, and I've been making a Sam and Dean edit as well at the same time, the more I focus on that video, the more scenes I go through, the more I hate it. The more I hate that ending, because it just makes less and less and less and less sense to me. Because for the entirety of the show, it has always been Sam and Dean against everyone else. And they always saved each other, they were there for each other, they brought each other back, even if they didn't want that, even if it was selfish, who gives a fuck, you know? They did everything for each other. Everything, it was always just about them being too stubborn and selfish to live without each other. And you're telling me that in the very last episode, they somehow are able to live without each other? After 15 years, after 326 episodes, you're telling me they can just let each other go? And Sam can spend half of his life separated from his brother? What? How does that make any sense to anyone? I really don't want to disrespect anyone's opinion. If you loved it, I'm honestly jealous of you. But I cannot wrap my head around anyone liking that ending. Because to me, it's just so wrong. It's like literally wrong in so many ways. I can't even fully express. But I'm gonna try in this video. Why can they just suddenly let each other die? For real. In episode 19 literally ended with them saying, it's you and me, wherever the story takes us, or whatever the fuck they're saying. And then Sam says, just us, and it ends with them driving off in the Impala. And then episode 20 is them being separated. What? And I know they're reunited in heaven, which is the only good part about the finale I like. I actually love the reunion. But they were separated for about 40 years. What? The more I think about that, the more ridiculous it becomes. How? How are they separated? That is my number one issue with this episode. How? After everything, they're just separated and they're fine with it? I mean, obviously they're not fine. Sam is very obviously suffering his entire life. Doesn't make any sense to me that they would separate them after years and years and years and years worth of scenes where they are not separated, where they do everything together, they hunt together, they literally spend every waking minute together, and they have said time and time again that they're better together than apart. And over the years, they just learned that whenever they're separated, it doesn't work out. And then you're telling me in the very last episode they are separated and it works out for them? Even if they're separated in heaven, they still spend so much time separated. That is just not right with me at all. Like, it just makes me... What happened to, and if we die, we'll die together too? What happened to that? That literally just happened 2 seasons ago. Season 13, episode 20, unfinished business. And 2 seasons later, it's just like thrown out the window? Thanks a lot. People have said, I've seen this everywhere, actually, that Sam has always wanted out of this life. He's always wanted a normal life and a family and blah, 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 all that, which is valid. He said that over the years, yeah. But when was the last time he actually said that on the show? In season 8? I don't think he's ever truly mentioned this since season 8. And season 8 was 7 seasons ago. That was almost half the show ago. You're telling me he just wants that still after all this time? I don't believe that for a damn second. I just don't think that's the case in any way, shape, or form. He's literally accepted that life. I don't believe for a minute that Sam wants a normal life in season 15. I don't believe that. And I don't even see it working out for him. It has never worked out before. Why now? Why? Now I want to talk about Dean. My god, they have done him so dirty. I don't even know where to start with this one. Dean Winchester died because of a piece of metal. I know we love calling it a nail in memes, and it's just funny. I do it too. It's so much fun. But he got pierced by an iron bar, and this is how Dean Winchester goes out. All the monsters, all the creatures, all the gods could not defeat him, but a lifeless iron bar in a random barn can kill him. And he stays dead. Wow. Wow. If we ignore the way he died, which I love to do, why did he give up? I know people also point out that he didn't give up. He found his peace with dying or in dying, which I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't like how that sounds. I don't think it's much better than giving up, finding your peace in death. It's kind of sad. To me, he gave up. To me, he didn't even try to stay alive. He was just like, oh shit, this thing is through my back. Guess I'm dead now. And he was so quick to tell Sam to just live on without him. He didn't even try to stay alive. Like that, I think that was just shitty. That was just shitty writing. It was so rushed. He literally could have at least tried to stay alive. No, he was just ready to give up right there and then. It's not like Dean Winchester has never wanted to die before. Let's be real, that was, oh my god. That man is suicidal as fucking hell. But then you shouldn't give him an ending like this. What? He was just so ready to die. After he literally just regained his freedom, and then the next episode you just let him die. And you pretend like he's fine with it? In what world does that work? I don't. Why would you give him free will and then just kill him off right afterwards? And people have also pointed out that at least 5 years passed after the 19th episode and before the 20th happened. So like there's a 5-year time span between that. Even if that is the case, they did not tell us that. They did not make it look like 5 years passed. There was no 5 years later thing, or there was not anything. It literally looks like he died the week after, and that's what it feels like. That's what I'll take. That's what they made it look like, so I'll accept that. And that's how I'm gonna treat it, because come on. How can you look at that and you just feel like, oh yeah, that was 5 years later? No, it's not. It looks like a week later. What I also disliked about that scene, I have my issues with the barn scene. Was it emotional? Yes. Was it beautifully acted? Yes. Kudos to Jared and Jensen all the damn way. It was beautiful. It was so well done. But so out of character for me. And it just didn't feel like it should be there. It didn't feel like that. Because the circumstances were ridiculous, in my opinion. Sam just let him die. I know that's like an exaggerated way to define it or to talk about it, but that's the way I see it. He didn't even really try. He didn't try. He was just like, he wanted to call an ambulance or get help for like 2.5 seconds, and then Dean was like, no, this is my end, I'm gonna die, bye. And Sam just accepted it. Just like that. He was like, alright. And that is the main issue of this entire scene for me. Why would Sam give up on Dean? Since when does he give up on his brother? Since when do they give up on each other? Since when? Have I been watching a different show all this time? Is this like the ending to a different show? Because that's what it feels like to me. Dean gave such a long speech about accepting his death. It felt so out of place for me, and as beautiful and perfectly acted as it was, it didn't feel like it belonged there. Why would he give such a speech now that comes across as so like cheesy in a way? And I hate to say it because I love the show and I love the characters to death and the actors. I love them all, but it felt so wrong to me. Like, as an example, Season 14, Episode 12, Profit and Loss. That scene where, Sam punches Dean and he's like, I believe in us. One of the greatest fucking scenes of the entire show. It's perfect. It's not out of character. It's just amazing. And it fits the scene. It fits everything. Sam is not giving up on his brother. He's literally punching sense into his brother. Or hugging sense into him, rather. And that is beautiful. Absolutely perfection. I love that scene. It's so perfect. How did they mess up the ending that hard? if they did that just one season before. I don't understand. To me, the show has always been about Sam and Dean, about them not giving up on each other, about them fighting, about them hunting monsters together, and not going off with some blurry-ass wife, having a kid he names Dean Winchester, which is gonna be like a super magnet for the monsters. Like, have fun, Dean. He just lives his life without Dean? I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. That does not feel like the same show that I have been dedicating my life to for the last 7.5 years. My God, it's been a long ride. Why would he give up on Dean? I cannot say this often enough. This bothers me so much. This is why I make so many memes about that. This is why I make so many videos making fun of it. Because that's literally the only way I can cope with this. To point out all the ridiculousness that this episode beholds. It's just insane to me. Absolutely insane. It baffles me that they did that and they thought it was the right thing to do. While we're at it, there have also been comments comparing that to Swan Song and that it's basically the same thing. And I agree, kinda, it is the same thing. One brother quits hunting and has his family, and the other brother is dead. Sam was not actually dead in season 5, but imagine he hadn't come back from the cage and he wasn't standing there in the last scene. He was pretty much dead. He was in the cage, so whatever. So it was similar, but I still don't think it can be compared because Swan Song was absolutely fantastic and Sam died a hero by jumping into the cage after having overcome and defeated Lucifer himself. Like, that is badass. Dean died because of a metal bar on a regular vamp hunt. I just don't know. No. The other difference to me, the big difference to me is Swan Song was it was in season 5. That was only 5 years into their story and into their relationship, into their everything. It was just 5 years. But the season 15 finale and the series finale was 15 years into their story. It was 15 years worth of relationships and brotherly love and character development, and they had been through so much. They brought each other back so many times. I can't even count that on my fucking fingers. They have been through literally hell and back together. They've brought each other back in 1,500,000 million different ways, and they've always somehow managed to come back to each other. And I know they did come back to each other in the finale in heaven, but it's still not quite right because it was like so much time passed between Dean's death and the reunion in heaven. It was just ridiculous to me. So yeah, Swan Song, like I said, was only 5 years, but the series finale was 15 years. We have so much knowledge now. Sam and Dean have so much knowledge. They have changed over the past few seasons drastically. Their entire relationship has changed. I will stand by my opinion that I think Sam and Dean's relationship was at its best in the last few seasons. I love every season, okay? Even season 7 or 6 that so many people hate. I love season 7. I love season 6. I love them all. I literally love every season. I have my issues with some of them, but I love them. I think Sam and Dean and their relationship was at its best between like season 11 and season 15. For me personally, because they have just matured so much. In earlier seasons, they had beef all the damn time, and I love that. I love those episodes nonetheless. But they have matured out of that. They don't do that anymore. They don't have these stupid ass fights, and it doesn't matter if one of them is addicted to demon blood or whatever. Like, they would just find a way to fix it. And I mean, they did that back then too, but it's so much different now because Dean wouldn't judge Sam now for being addicted to demon blood. They wouldn't just tell each other to go and never come back like they did in season 4, episode 21. They wouldn't just abandon each other and think they're better off without each other in the later seasons. That's just not something that happens, you know? So they've just changed so much. Their characters, their relationship, their dynamic, everything has changed in the later seasons. And I love that. That's my favorite part of the later seasons. I'm glad it didn't end after season 5 or after season 10, because if it had ended we would have never gotten these amazing Sam and Dean moments. We would have never gotten that scene in Profit and Loss, season 14, episode 12. We would have never gotten the baby episode, which is fantastic. We would have never gotten so many amazing scenes had it ended earlier. I would have hated the ending of Swan Song, just like I hate it now, because they were separated, and that is the worst thing, in my opinion, that you can do to the show, and they did it. But yeah, there's a big difference between season 5 and season 15. Like, you can't compare all the circumstances and the character developments and everything. It's a 10-year difference. It's a lot. So while it might have worked in Swan Song, it definitely did not work at all for me in Carry On. My God. Another thing that I want to talk about is the way they just ditched everyone. I've always been the kind of person to say, I want the show to end with Sam and Dean because that's the way it started. I understand the arguments of other people where they're like, no, it shouldn't end the same way because it, like, there has to be a change, character development. It doesn't have to end the same way it began. Like, that's just going back to the start, and it's just, I get that point of view, and I respect it fully. I just have a different opinion. I think it's amazing that they ended it with Sam and Dean, but they did it horribly. My God, the execution was absolutely horrible in my opinion, because they ditched every single person in their lives. Everyone. And I know it was because of COVID. I know that, okay? I understand that was a big problem, and they said they wanted to bring a lot of the characters back, but it's still so strange to me that we got a vampire named Jenny from season 1 who was in like 3 scenes altogether 15 years ago. We got her back, but there's no Jack, there's no Cass, there's no Mary, even though I don't like Mary, but still, like, she's still quite important. Fuck my camera. I have to continue with my phone because my camera died. I don't like Mary, but even she wasn't there. Their mom, like, Dean was literally so pissed about Mary's death for, like, what? Half a season straight? Like, are you telling me he doesn't even give a shit to go find her? What? He doesn't care to find his dad, even though they're right over there in that house? And everyone he's ever lost is just right around the corner, and he just doesn't give a shit? The way he acted in general about Cass's death, when every time Cass has died in the past, he was like a broken shell. He was so sad, and he was so heartbroken, and he was just like, he just lost someone so important, and he was just always, like, in season 13, he almost, like, died of heartbreak. He was insane, and now he's just like, oh, Cass is dead. Anyway, and they just completely forgot about Jack. Like, what the fuck? Did he just piss off and was like, see you later? And they never saw him again? They did not really care? They never really tried to, talk to him or anything? He was just, like, forgotten? I know they said they were rebuilding heaven, but as if they would just not talk to the Winchesters. As if the Winchesters would just not talk to them after everything. It's insane. Then there's also something I don't like. There's a lot I don't like, but the way they gave us Jack, they gave, like, them Jack. He was pretty much their son, and he was super important to Sam. He was like a son to Sam specifically as well. And then they ditched that idea, and they give him a kid that was related to him by blood. He had Jack. Why did they have to give him an actual child that has come out of a sperm bank? Like, I'm sorry, okay? But family don't end in blood, huh? Yeah. They had something so amazing because their dynamic with Jack was everything. Literally my second favorite thing of the later seasons was Jack and Sam and Dean and Cass. Like, it was so beautiful. They had something so great. And then they absolutely flushed it down the toilet. Completely. And they didn't even really make Dean apologize to Jack, or they didn't really make up, or I don't know. Dean was such a dick. He was such an insane dick to Jack. And yes, he killed their mom. I get that, but apparently Dean doesn't give a shit about that anyway, since he never really bothered to look for Mary. Like, what? That is so strange. He was so pissed about that. He literally could not forgive Jack. And then he's in heaven, and he doesn't care to go visit Mary. They just completely removed half of his personality in that episode. And then he has the audacity to say that Jack isn't family? That was in like episode 17, right? After all of that, you really have the audacity to call him not family? Are you trying to ruin everything I love? Because congratulations. I am so butthurt over that. It's just, They had Jack on their side, who apparently is the new god, so why did he not bring back Dean? Sure, maybe he didn't want to interfere, but come on. It's Jack and Dean and Sam. As if any of that just makes any sense. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to me. I've been trying to make sense of this entire finale for the past 10 days, and I just can't. I can't. So you're really telling me Dean just accepted death like that? So easily, so fast. Sam didn't really fight for Sam. He tried for 2.5 seconds. And he didn't even try to call Jack to get Jack to help him, or even anyone else. He didn't. No? Nothing? Okay. Let's say he did try to call for Jack and to get him to bring Dean back. I don't think Jack would just not help him. I don't think Jack would just let Dean be dead. I just don't. I don't see that happening at all. I don't. And then there's, of course, also the thing between Dean and Cass. Listen, I am not that passionate about DCL. I'm not passionate about this entire thing. I used to love DCL. I'm just not a shipper anymore. I haven't been for like at least a year, 1.5 years. It's been a little bit, But what were they trying to do? What was that? 1 minute, Cass is confessing his love, and Dean's a mess on the floor, crying, not even picking up Sam's phone call. For all he knew, he could have been in such danger, and Dean was just like not picking up because he was heartbroken. He was so sad over the death of an important person. And then 2 episodes later, he doesn't even give a shit. Brings him up once and smiles, is just happy, as if no one died, as if Cass hadn't just died 2 episodes prior. Now, I believe the show is done queerbaiting. I don't think they had any bad intent with the way they handled the confession and everything afterwards. That doesn't mean they did it well, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the scene. I love that it was Cass's last scene. Like, as his last scene, I think it was fitting. Would have loved to see him in the last episode, though. I'm not gonna lie. But the way it was handled, it was just like they didn't really know what to do with it. And that's what bothers me. And that's pretty much how I can summarize the entire ending. They did not know what to do with it, and rushed it absolutely 100%. It's so rushed. Everything happened so fast, and I couldn't even process what I was seeing. In my reaction video about the ending, I was just so conflicted because I did not like what I was seeing, but at the same time I was battling myself, or I was battling with myself, because I wanted to love it, of course. This show is my absolute life. Of course I want to love the ending. And I couldn't process everything yet. But now, after days and days and days of lots of thinking and rewatching stuff and editing and just talking about it, I'm realizing I really, really hate it. I just want to say, once again, I absolutely mean no disrespect. 0, even less than 0 disrespect to Jared, Jensen, Misha, any cast member or any crew member. I don't mean any disrespect to Andrew Gabb or Robert Singer or the CW. Like, I don't mean disrespect. I don't want to hate on anyone. I don't want to like point fingers and be like, you suck or whatever. I just want to call out the writing. And that's what I did. I want to call out the horrible choices. In my opinion, just mine. Doesn't have to be yours. I care about the show way too much to just suck it up and pretend like this was a good ending to me. Because it's just not. Okay, if it was a meh ending, maybe I could somewhat leave it alone and accept it more, but it was not a meh ending to me. It's not like I had one issue with it or two or three. No. The entire episode was basically one big ass issue that I had with it. And I also just want to say, as a last thing, even though I don't like the ending, even though I was very disappointed and I'm very frustrated with it still, I will still make edits. I will still devote so much of my time to the show because I love it and I will continue loving it even if this big ass bump is in the way. It doesn't matter. I will just go around it and learn to live with it, I guess. I'm not going anywhere. I've seen people ditch and abandon Supernatural because of this. I'm not gonna. I might be making more fun of it, that's for damn sure, but I'm not gonna abandon it. I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna continue what I'm doing and for as long as I want to. Who knows? Maybe I'll stop next year. Maybe I'll stop in 2 years. Maybe I'll stop when I'm 86 years old, or who knows? Maybe I'll do it until I'm in my grave. Jared and Jensen and Misha have brought me so much joy over the years. I love them deeply. I would never wish them any harm or disrespect or hate on them. Their acting was phenomenal. I love them and they're so kind. I would never do anything to disrespect them. At least not on purpose. Like, if I ever said anything or did anything that was disrespectful, then I apologize wholeheartedly. But it's never my intent. I just want to shit on the writing because that's the only thing that helps me cope. I love the show and I will love it even with this ending. And this is my honest opinion on the ending. I hope you were not bored by my talking. Anyway, thank you for listening and I'll see you when I upload my next video, whenever that will be. Who knows? Oh, and I totally forgot to include, it's gonna be even longer now. There have also been people pointing out that they lost their luck with Chuck. Or their magic, their plot armor, whatever you want to call it. And because Chuck lost his powers, they lost that. And that's why they died, or that's why Dean died the way he died. And that's why Sam quit hunting and everything unfolded. That makes it so much worse, because that means they were absolutely useless idiots without that plot armor. And it was Chuck. I would rather jump off my rooftop right now than to accept that. Just no.